Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy and I'm excited tonight to be talking to Tracy Perry with Perry Project. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for joining us. We were chatting a little bit before we got started here, but yeah, the last time we spoke, last time we were in the same room together was summer of 2019.
Oh yeah. It's quite a long time ago.
Well, and what a different time it is.
Oh yeah, pre-pandemic, face to face. We didn't have to stay 6 feet apart. That was a good time.
We didn't know how good we had it, although I was listening to the interview a little bit today, and I did remember one of the things you were talking about then was saying yes to things.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I remember that. I was just kind of like, I just learned to say yes to a lot of things and just go with stuff and not be too afraid to say yes. I think you get caught up in hesitation, saying no a lot, and just, there's gonna be some times in your life where you're busy, of course, and you're kind of like, well, I got something coming up, but just not being afraid, saying yes to things. I think that's important to kind of grow and to like just step out of your comfort zone. So saying yes to things is not always a bad thing.
No, I think it's a great thing. And as I was listening to it, I was thinking, and we'll get more into the specifics of this. You have a new EP coming out on April 8th. I said that right? Yes.
Friday, April 8th. Yes, I
Yeah.
believe so. Let me double check my calendar here. Oh yeah, Friday, April 8th, the new EP Liars Fires is coming out.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Well, it is, and I was wondering how that idea of saying yes, and 6 months after we talk, kind of the pandemic happens, and then 2 years later, you coming out with this new EP. How did that idea of saying yes kind of bring you to where you are now?
I mean, I want to be honest. I was pretty hesitant, kind of, to create anything more music related. Just it is a lot. Sometimes it can be, you can get a little anxious about it because sometimes these things you think they're going to take like 6 months. They end up taking a year or 2 years sometimes. This one thankfully didn't take too long. The last one took like 2 years off and on. So just thinking about releasing new music, I was kind of like, do I really want to spend the next 2 years, possibly 2 years creating? And that, can't imagine a life without music. So I said yes to creating a new EP, and instead of doing like 8 songs or 12 songs like on my first one, 8 songs on my second, I decided just to release an EP. It's a lot more streamlined, I guess, for independent artists. Obviously, the cost is a factor, and then giving myself 5 songs sounded like a good idea, so I said yes to that, and I was able to, really focus on these 5 tunes and put all my effort into them and come up with some interesting new ideas and concepts and just kind of run with different types of melodies and sounds. I think that's kind of what I was coming up with, in lyrics too. I wanted the listener, when they heard the lyrics, I wanted them to not know what was coming next. And same with melody. I wanted them to kind of go, what's next? It's like, I feel like, being a lyricist, sometimes you do get caught in mundane lyrics where it's like, oh, you already know what's coming next. And I was really challenging myself to kind of form phrases to where it's like, okay, I see where this is going, and then I say something completely different, or I don't rhyme at all, or it goes into a different direction. So that was kind of the challenge I had going into this one, because you want to make, each sets of tunes sound a little different, obviously. And I was trying to challenge myself to add some new elements to this one. So I think I accomplished that. So
I think you did, and maybe tackle these too, because there's a different sound, but the lyrics too are, and I think one of my favorite songs, because I love a good line, is Time Waster.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the kind of the unexpectedness of a Father John Misty. The very specific, and you think it's going one way, and I'm gonna crucify the line, but it's, don't call me your time waster. You're the one living in a restaurant.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I mean, it's kind of like the service industry, I mean, there's people that come and kind of waste your time, and they give you a hard time, and they're the ones sitting down in front of you, kind of thing. I mean, it has a play off of that. Obviously, it could mean something else. Just people that waste your time, that you feel are wasting your time in general, or just giving you a hard time in general, or I would say people that you don't really relate to. Those can be considered, who this song is for. I think everybody can relate a little bit to that. So,
Well, and hearing it, post pandemic, I think, for the last 2 years, time wasting is what kept us alive.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the service industry is put on spotlight. A lot of the restaurants were shut down, and I even like put waiting tables outside on there because people were waiting tables outside and they weren't doing it inside, which was interesting. So I use that line in there too about how they're waiting tables, outside instead of using inside. So but yeah, that's definitely a lot of time being wasted during the pandemic for most people. So
Well, and I think it just impacted us all so differently, in that really all you had to let go of feeling guilty about wasting time, and yet you'd get annoyed at yourself and at other people for wasting that. It's kind of a funny, because what else are you going to do?
yeah, I mean, for some, I mean, a lot of, I would say most people, at least for the first 2 weeks, were kind of on lockdown,
Yeah.
Obviously there were some people that didn't experience that lockdown. They were still working out there harder than ever, which, I commend those people. But for me, for example, I was locked down for the first 2 weeks, and then I kept working after that. So I definitely felt the virtual side of the pandemic. I was doing some virtual work, and then I felt the physical side. I was doing some physical work during the pandemic, and it was quite hectic in some of the service type industries. So a lot of people ordering groceries, for example, online, stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, and what's funny is my job is moving people online. So kind of like yourself, suddenly I was about as busy as you could be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So some people saw a slowdown and some people saw a drastic pickup. So that's kind of the offsetting thing of the pandemic, and that's kind of why this, even the EP is inspired by that, a lot of the contrast of what was going on. So I even have a contrasting kind of album cover of something that's representing liars and something representing fires. So I felt like there was a lot of that going on, during the pandemic, especially. So.
Well, it isn't, and you addressed it a little bit, but it kind of gets us into a backdoor way of asking a larger question I wanted to ask, is really how, with each of the song, how much of an impact was the pandemic and everything else that we've experienced in the last 2 years?
I mean, it did have a big effect because I was recording this during it, so I did pull a lot of inspiration from it. And it was hard, I guess, not to. I didn't want to make it about the pandemic, though. That was very important, to not just be like, here's my pandemic record, and it'll only, see you through the pandemic. I wanted to make something that was very relatable, and you could relate to the pandemic, and hopefully after the pandemic, you'll still be able to like look back at some of these songs and kind of have a sort of connection to them. So that was very important too, when writing this, is to not blatantly make it about like one thing, and because that one thing will only last for so long. And at the end of the day, we'll get through the pandemic. Hopefully most people will, but that was the idea behind it.
Well, and that Recall is another song that I really liked, and we premiered the lyric video with that, which is, I thought the video, well, the video was charming in it, but it's I wanted to ask a little bit more about that song, and just what there's the whole idea of no more recalling my innocence, and so I won't try to guess what it's, but what's nice about it is I don't know if it's about a personal story, a community story, a worldwide story. So I think you get some of that ambiguity is the wrong, but universality. But so
I mean, that's probably my most, I mean, you think you said it right. That's my most universal song on the album. And I kind of I more or less created it that way. And that aspect is I wanted the lyrics to really resonate with everybody, and like I wanted everybody to listen to it and be able to somehow pick up something from it that meant something from them. And then the vibe of the song was really important. We have some parts during the chorus, for example, or one of the breaks where it says, maybe I was what I once was, kind of during the musical breaks. We have reverse sounds playing in the background. We pulled some, I had this idea where we could pull some like tragic news events off YouTube. And there was a newscaster in the background during the song, but it's played in reverse. So you can't really recall what the newscaster is saying. So the vibe was really important too. There's also a kid lecture or a dad lecturing his kid. That's in the background too, but it's all played in reverse. So you can't really recall what the guy's saying when you're listening to it, but you can hear some voices going on in the background if you listen very closely, but that's all being played in reverse. So that was kind of my idea, is to play things in reverse so you can't quite understand. And I didn't know how it was going to work out, but when we tested it out in the studio, it turned out very well. But I think I awake this day feeling strange and sore again. I mean, I was waking up feeling sore, so I just used that line, It was a real line that I used because I was like, this is real. And I feel like if I can experience something like that, other people are experiencing that too. And that's something people don't talk about too much. It's almost like animals, they kind of hide their pain a little bit, I feel like humans do the same sometimes, is they kind of wake up sore and they don't, something you just don't talk about, yeah, I feel really sore right now, you don't
Yeah.
you talk about once in a while, but it's not like an ongoing topic, but it's real. It kind of messes with your psyche a little bit. And during that time of pain, you don't you're so focused on the pain, it's hard to recall kind of a time where you felt, I guess, more or less vulnerable, like you felt more innocent, I suppose. I don't know, it's kind of a contrast too, because when you're young you're more vulnerable, but you feel more invincible too. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a kind of a play off that. And I also was imagining a dog downtown Minneapolis can't find its way home. And I was really kind of honing in on that emotion, on that. So if you hear like, a scent downtown recalls I found something familiar. So you kind of are finding your way home. The smells are familiar, but you still can't find your way home, kind of thing. So, and there is a room, inside here I called my home. I'm like, look, it's like I really imagine somebody kind of lost, knowing there's a room here for you, but you can't find it, kind of thing. So I think that's kind of how deep I went with this one, thinking about it. But the song is very simple. It's not very wordy. So that was another choice that I wanted to make too. So.
Well, and even as you talk about it, I think there was really a shared experience, especially for anybody in the Twin Cities and the summer of 2020, really having way more to do with George Floyd than the pandemic. And I think we did have that shared wake up sore. We woke up sore for a week because none of us slept.
Yeah.
There's just the literal, as you say, just that literal.
Yeah, just the shock.
Just the 2.5 hours of sleep again last night, side of it. And then thinking back to, well, was the time of innocence, was it really, the life I thought we had 5 years ago, was that the life everybody had? Is that it's really.
Yeah, that's kind of, you could go deep like that too. So yeah, definitely that was going through my head a little bit too. It's just everything that was happening. It's just, I think everybody just, when something happens for the first time, you don't know how to react. Am I angry? Am I just kind of like dumbfounded? Like all the emotions, all the above were happening. It was just, it was a place, I call my home. So, and that's kind of, another thing I reference in the song, a place you kind of call your home. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And trying to come back to a place that may or may not have been what you were thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very powerful song. And then, well, we might as well talk about Liars Fires too. And I like that you have a video for that one as well.
Yeah, so, I didn't want to go a traditional route on the video here. I could have made it bluntly about, things, events that were going on. You know, instead I just made it about skateboarding, something kids do for fun. You know, that was kind of the pitch I had to the director. I was like, let's create a skate video. I get Tony Hawk vibes from this song. So I used to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater when I was growing up. Let's make the video fun, because if you really dig into the lyrics, it's obviously it's about, you know, the liars and then the fire, interpret that. So but yeah, that's a song that evokes I mean, there was a lot of emotion that went into that one, and lyrical content wise, I was meaning to be a little confusing with it. I wanted, again, it was like maybe from a kid perspective of you're just confused, you don't really know what to say, you don't know what you're seeing. It's about
Well, I always think there's nothing more universal than Tony Hawk. I was a fan when I was a kid, and I remember one of my daughters saying, "I have a crush on Tony Hawk." I'm like, dude, Tony Hawk is my age. Step back.
Yeah, maybe I think he has a kid. I don't know. Maybe that's better. I don't know.
Well, I think it's, yeah, I know. I was like, he's not gonna, yeah. But I spent my time around a half pipe when I was a kid. You know, I used to spend some time at the skate park, and then I had to ask if you know where the footage for that comes from.
Oh,
Is that
for Liar
Venice
Fire?
Beach? Yeah.
That's actually in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's directed by a guy
Funny.
named Bradley Dunham. He just kind of went out there and shot some. He's like, I know some skaters, so he went out to Jacksonville, Florida, shot some footage of a couple kids skating. You know, I think one of them was like in the X Games or whatever. So that was pretty cool.
Oh,
So
it's very fun to watch. Yeah.
just
And to
just
listen.
kids skating. You know, having fun to a song that's, you know, more or less kind of you know, about some, I don't know, you know, about some recent events of there being liars and there being fires. So
It offsets it well.
yep.
You know, because
Yeah.
well, I mean, and just the whole idea of the liars and the fires, and then we got to live our lives. You know, then we got to skateboard
Yeah, I mean,
too.
and the big people that are affected in the long term are kids. You know, they're out there just trying to have fun, and then there's all these liars and fires going on, and it's like, at the end of the day, the next generation's being really affected by that. You know, and the current generation, you know, I don't know. It's kind of how they want to deal with it. You know, and unfortunately, we got a lot of people that, you know, when you're young, I think you like to think of a lot of older people as, you know, having their stuff together, and then you kind of realize when you get older that it's a lot of the older people that sometimes, you know, create changes for better or worse. So, and a lot of times it can end up having a really bad impact on the world and people. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I don't think there's any 12-year-olds in Congress making some really crazy decisions right now, you know, affecting millions of lives. So they
You're
won't
not
let them
wrong.
do that. They won't let them do that. They're too smart. No.
Well, and this has been a time where it's, you know, one of the thing with kids is they got nothing to lose in a way that you sort of were talking about before, because some of us, we make decisions based on, we got to put food on the tables, we got to be, we can't be as out there as we can be, and then the kids are like, I just say da 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 da. So it's, you know, which is great. And I think in the last couple of years, there has come a time where we've had to say, I don't know, maybe that kid's got a point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe that
They see things a little differently, so sometimes, you know, you gotta listen to them. So, and
at least be factored in as a stakeholder.
Yeah, factor them in. Why not?
Yeah. And
there's got to be an official ballot taking for some of the youth here. There it really isn't. So they don't really have it seems like they don't really have that voice, you know, which, I mean, there's got to be a way to let them have a little bit of a voice, but I don't think they've thought that far ahead yet. So
no, but it's a really good point. It should, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to get kids invested, and you have to show some faith in it. I mean, it's a hard, there's nothing magic at age 18.
No.
You know, I know some
when
super reasonable 12-year-olds, and I know some super not reasonable 62-year-olds.
Yeah, it goes always, really. I mean, it's just when you're thrown into the world, you know, out of high school, it's like you come into a world that was created you know, with laws created by people that are able to make them,
Yeah.
and they you know, and people that are able to have a vote on them. And you know, when you're young, you don't really have that say until I guess you get a little older, and you're already kind of you know, out of your childhood element, which like that's just the way things work, you know, right now.
Well, and you think about, you're really, I mean, kids are, you have to go to school, you can get a driver's license at that age, you can join the army at this age, you can drink at this age, you can vote at this age, you know, they are more regimented than any other group of folks, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're go-getters, you know, they have all these dreams and aspirations, and you know, let's hope, you know, when they get out of high school that the rules in place are, you know, what will enable them to kind of
Inviting, yeah.
explore
Yeah.
that. So
Well, I think the video very, it kind of captures that hope and the dichotomy of, you know, what is and what could be.
absolutely. Yeah, that, I mean, that was the point, is just to have a video that, you know, really just contrasted the song a little bit, you know, kind of the video had more hope, and then the song kind of was an exaggeration, I would say, of just some of the emotions you feel when there's, you know, lots of things going on. You know, that was kind of the point of the song. And then like the way I even sing it. So if you listen to the song, the way I sing it, you know, I definitely sing it way differently than I sing some of the other ones. But yeah, just kind of being upset with some of the liars fires, and there's really not much you can do about it sometimes. That is the sometimes you feel that you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, so it gets very frustrating.
Yeah. And then sometimes you just got to laugh, which makes me ask about laugh track.
Yeah,
and I was
well,
interested with this, as you were talking a little bit about how the music was made. I want to know tell me the backstory, but also this very much has got sounds pulled from different places.
yeah, well, laugh track was actually a song written by one of my it was written by one of my friends, or I thought it was. So one of my friends was singing this in Florida when I used to live in Tampa, when I was stationed there a while back. And my friend, you know, I'd go to these open mics, and one of my friends played this song, and it just stuck in my head. And I had an idea for it. Like, I just had ideas for it right away. So years later, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, like, what are you doing with that laugh track song? You know, like, I still think about it, and I have ideas for it." So all I heard was him playing the acoustic and him kind of going into the ha 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 ha, you know?
Yeah.
That just stuck into my head like the whole time, because I thought it was such a clever way to introduce a song, with just saying ha 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 and then calling the song laugh track. Um, he said it was by one of his friends, and they called themselves Silver Wren. I don't know who Silver Wren is. I was like, "Who is Silver Wren?" And he wouldn't tell me. So I still think the mystery is was he Silver Wren? So the guy that played it, his name is Joshua Paul. So he's a musician in Florida. And the guy he said that wrote it was Silver Wren. So I still haven't met Silver Wren, but that's who he says created it. I asked him if I could use it. He said, "I don't want to record it." And I said, "Okay, can I, you know, kind of paying homage, you know, artists do this sometimes, where they're like,
Yeah.
you know, I think Paul McCartney's famous for it. He just sometimes he has songs and he doesn't want anything to do with them. He goes, somebody asks them and they go, "Yeah, here, take this one." I don't really. So I asked him, he said yes. I was really happy because he said he wasn't gonna do anything with it. So I had ideas for it. So I have you know, an introduction on the song of I believe it's a 50s movie with Gary Cooper in it. So Gary Cooper has a really cool delivery on that. So me and my producer ended up using that kind of that introduction, you know. I forgot exactly what he says, but something about this is Joe jokes or something. It's just a really cool introduction. It goes right into the ha 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 ha, and then we had a piano player. Kind of I told the piano player, I was like, gosh, what was his name? I'm gonna open the album. The piano player's name was Mark Zagenhagen. He's out of Minneapolis. He was told him to act like he was in a bar and there was a fight going on in the background, and he didn't know what was going on. It was all going on behind him. So it's kind of got a cool swingy saloon feel to it. So he was playing the piano. We had Chris Bates play the upright bass. He's
Great.
got a pretty well-known brother that plays drums.
Yes, he does.
So he was playing the upright bass, and then Matthew Garrett produced it along with me. And Steve Veely helped mix it along with Matthew Garrett. So Steve Veely's one of Michael Brower's proteges. He worked on like his most famous work. Michael Brower's work is probably Coldplay, like Viva La Vida. So Steve Veely is actually was his assistant. I'm not sure if he still assists Michael Brower, but I had Steve Veely mix it.
Wow.
And he mixed all of it. He did the final mixes on all of these songs. And then the drummer, Corey Rywalt, he's typically a regular in the band. And then we have Allie Daniels on backup. So I thought she added a lot to the backup vocals of that song, kind of to make it even more swingy. So, but the vibe of that song is really cool. And I feel like, coming from just an acoustic to a vocal, we did a really good job producing it and kind of making it, stand on its own as a track. So, and it even has the words liars and fires in there. So it kind of does, kind of adds a resolution to the album a little bit, which is pretty cool. But I love that track. It's a great track.
Does she sing on Time Waster as well then?
She does, yeah. She's backing on
start.
Time Waster, yeah. And I believe one of the keyboard player that kind of goes on stage with me, Leanne Crow, she does some backing vocals on Time Waster as well. So
Nice.
But yeah, Allie's in there too. So yeah.
Nice. Now I got just one more song to ask you about, the Mizer and the Monk. The Mizer and the Monk.
Yeah, Mizer and the Monk. Yeah, that one turned out pretty cool. I really like the vibe of it. Lyrically, it's probably one of my favorites. Again, going with like kind of the offsetting and contrasting. So Mizer and the Monk. I didn't really know what a miser was. I've heard it before. I think like the Beatles talk about a miser and other bands do, but I believe it's kind of a wealthy person that kind of holds on to their money, and then kind of like
a little bit of Ebenezer Scrooge type. Yep.
Yeah, and then the monk is kind of like a peaceful person that really maybe not have any of the riches, but yeah, it's like the miser and the monk. It kind of just was, with my friend, and we were just scrolling through words on a dictionary, and they're both M's. So we came across the word miser and monk, and it just stuck. It's like, that sounds really cool together. So I played off that, and then the music aspect, we were playing with sounds in the studio with Alexander, what was his name? Alexander Dausch. He's out of Minneapolis. He came from San Diego. He has a studio called Studio Studios in Minneapolis. We were just playing with synth sounds and kind of cool modulations, and you can hear it in the beginning of the song, and that kind of led off the song into the drum beat with Luke Rivard playing drums on that. So he did a really, really good job. But yeah, Mizer and the Monk playing Paisley Punk,
Yeah.
It's kind of a Prince homage for Paisley, and
Absolutely.
also Paisley underground scene. It was like an underground scene of music, I believe, in like the UK area. So I just kind of, in one of my last interviews, I kind of said Paisley Punk is whatever music you listen to is Paisley Punk. You can call it that, especially when you live in Minnesota,
Right.
Yep. Whatever you listen to, whatever you jam out to, that's your Paisley Punk. So it's kind of a cool song, cool lyrics, and then there should be like a lyric video coming out for that. But it's kind of like my favorite line of that is when I go into like, I tried so hard when rolling up my sleeves when pleasing, it's just kind of like, sometimes you just feel like you try so hard to like make others happy, and it just kind of makes, once in a while you just want to kind of break free from that, from making others happy. You want to make, you want to be happy,
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like, you try so hard to make others happy that sometimes you forget that you're also trying to make yourself happy. I mean, it happens to everybody, but I think everybody can kind of relate to that. So that's probably one of my favorite tracks too on this collection. But
and it feels like this album, you do a lot more with grabbing sounds from different places and using the synthesizer and using some more of the electronics. Is that?
Yeah.
And what brought you to that?
I mean, I've been listening to bands that use electronics and they use them well. Um, and I vibe with that music a lot. And I just haven't really had a chance to really kind of express that on the first two. The first two are very guitar driven, very acoustic
Yep.
driven, very
Yeah.
rock guitar, you know, and I'm like, I just a player at heart. I play it to write songs. That's why I kind of have a guitarist too, is because that's their instrument. They do better than I do. I kind of use it as a tool to write songs. So I wanted to use my strength, which I feel is, let me focus on my lyrics and my vocals. So that's kind of what I did on this one. I focused on my lyrics and my vocals. That was my strength. And then I let everybody else, you know, the producers I work with, like Alexander is really good at finding cool like synth sounds. So he was an integral part in creating this. Um, you know, Matt was an integral part. It's kind of just holding the vibe I want. I want electronic, you know, maybe some guitar elements, mix and match them, you know, mix them up a little bit. So, but you can hear also kind of ambient noises in the background, like on Liar's Fires, you can kind of hear an audience for a second, and then it kind of cuts out in the way beginning, and then it kind of comes back during one of the synth breakdowns in the middle of the song, and then you can kind of, if you got to really listen for that audience in the background, and then it cuts back out. So to me, that added a lot of depth and a lot of element to the tracks that, you know, I didn't have before, and it's kind of my idea to do that. You know, sit down with the producer and be like, let's add some ambient noises in there. Just to add some depth to it. And if you have to really listen to it, you're going to hear it. Or sometimes if you sit back and listen to an album, you hear it, but it meshes so well with the song, you don't realize you hear it until you're really listening closely. So that was kind of the idea on that one, just to play with electronic sounds. And a lot of the bands I've been listening to, I don't know, anywhere from a band called Churches to a band called, one of my favorites right now, Everything Everything. They just seamlessly work with electronics and they make it sound so good. So that was the inspiration behind adding that.
Nice.
I'm even working on some, you know, newer stuff right now that's kind of on the back burner right now, but more electronic stuff, you know, is to come out hopefully in the next year or two. So you'll be hearing more of that.
Cool. I always think it's interesting what you don't know you hear more on a subconscious level, you know, and then and that makes it fun to listen to something again and again, because you hear something new and different every time. It adds layers that I think are just make the music even richer. So it's yeah. I think that the album is more somber, I think, than things that I've heard you do before. But I think that depth of sound and then the super clever lyrics kind of balance it so that there's a little sugar with the medicine, you know, and it's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing is, like the first two things I worked on, I wrote a lot of those songs like years ago, and I wanted to start fresh on this one because I feel like, yeah, some of the songs I wrote years ago, like they related to me then, and I felt like they related to me then, but they didn't really relate to me now necessarily. I wanted something that was more now. So that was the idea, is sit down with the producer, and we literally had no plans. We had no idea what we were doing. So we just sat down and created music on the fly. Yeah. Sat down with the piano player and Recall. We just created music on the fly with that. Liar's Fires, sat down with Alexander from Studio Studios, created on the fly. The guy that did Recall, Jack from Tangerine Studios, that dude's really good. So we vibed really well on that one. And then Alexander with Liar's Fires, I think every song, you know, on here, I was able to create, I feel like, something special with each of the people I worked with, each of the three people we worked with on this. So
Nice.
But yeah, just getting that fresh perspective and not kind of digging in my archive, because I got a lot of songs, you know, that I haven't released yet that are a little older, but they're not now. So I wanted something right now and just kind of come up with stuff spontaneously. And I believe I achieved that with this. So
that just how it's developed is very much speaks to the time that we're in, which very much is an undercurrent in the music that you have created for us. I think it's perfect timing.
Appreciate it.
Perfect timing. Although I had to laugh because it's the title of your last album that would be perfect for the day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Regardless of everything, are you okay?
Oh yeah. It's funny, yeah.
I like Liar's Fires. I like, but it's a better for
You'll
this one.
see. You'll see in the next few years why Liar's Fires is going to be relevant, just like the last one is relevant today.
Well, there you go.
That's another. I'm not saying I have a prediction, but it'll ring a little bit more true in the next few 3-4 years. Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more liars and a lot more fires. So
yeah, I don't think you're wrong there. I don't think you're wrong, but at least we get good music. Silver lining. At least we got some good music out of it.
I feel like the first album was Can't Steal Soul, right? So they could take a lot of things, but they can't take your soul. And then second album was like, now that you're beaten down, regardless of everything, are you okay?
Yeah.
And the third one's just kind of, blunt, Liars Fires,
Yeah, that's right. It's
kind
all
of
right
visual,
there.
more seeing what's going on. So maybe taking a more interest, a little bit sit back approach to viewing everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, it's funny that you mentioned that about the last album. Yeah, somebody was brought that up too. They decided to review it during the pandemic because it was sitting on their desk. They said it was staring at their desk, staring at them, and they haven't reviewed it yet. I think she runs a blog called Girl at the Rock Show.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Langan.
she said it was
Langan. I know Langan well.
Yeah, she said it was sitting on her desk, and she kept reading it. She's like, I have to review this now. It's like, what more of a better time than now? So she reviewed that last year during the pandemic, and that was pretty. I thought that was pretty funny. And I'm like,
yeah, that's great. She's great. Yeah, surprisingly enough, I see her at plenty of shows.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she does a great job. So I will add this in the notes, but for folks who are listening, what is the best way to find you online, and where is the best place to get the Liars Fires coming out on April 8th?
Yeah, so Liars Fires, it's going to be available on all major streaming platforms: Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, any major streaming service, Bandcamp. Definitely encouraged to add it. Follow me on all those services. I just go by Perry Project. So Facebook, I go by Perry Project. Website, perryprojectmusic.com, and then Instagram, I'm at tperryjr. So at tperryjr. That's my Instagram handle. So those are the best ways you can follow me. I have all my links, on all my socials. So YouTube, Perry Project again. So
yeah, and you've got some good
whatever
videos.
You want. Yeah, whatever platform you want to listen to me on. I just encourage people to follow me because I'm I'm still going to be releasing other, new stuff, possibly some singles. I'm not sure exactly what route I want to take next, but
it'll be fun to hear the interesting turn that you take. And for folks who want to see you in person, especially if they don't mind making a little drive to Hastings, which isn't that far from the Twin Cities.
We just got an couple acoustic sets planned in Hastings, Minnesota. They have a festival every year. They haven't had it in the last couple of years because of the pandemic, but last time I played there, it was very, very popular. It's essentially a block party. Hastings has a pretty cool block of just full of restaurants and bars.
Yeah.
And every restaurant and bar that day on Saturday, April 30th is going to be hosting live music. Every place is going to have live music for like 4 straight hours.
Nice.
So we're going to be playing at a couple venues down the street. I think one, we're playing at 7:30, and then we're also playing at 8:30.
Nice.
I think the 8:30 one's at Spiral Brewing. There's going to be flyers for it. I'll post it on my website. It'll be on my socials, but it's called the Hootenanny. So
yeah,
such a Minnesota name because I'm from California, so I'm not used to that. But the Hootenanny, Saturday, April 30th in Hastings. So just kind of look out for that promotion.
Yeah, you say that's a cute town right on the river.
It's fun. I mean, I went there and I played acoustic, and I still had fun afterwards. Like I just hung out for a few hours after, just going, having a couple of drinks, walking around, checking out all the bands playing. They got kind of a cool river. I don't know if it's by the Mississippi, but you can do a little river walking. Very cool little city over there. So that I don't think it gets enough attention, but if you have never made it down there, I definitely recommend going to that. It's something to do too.
Yeah, it's a great place. So Tracy, thank you so much for chatting. I can't wait till folks can hear the full EP.
Oh yeah, this Friday. It's gonna be. I'm very excited. Can't wait either to see what the reaction is. And thank you so much for having me in. Nice to talk to you again.
Oh yeah, fun to talk to you too.